What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile here on TCG University for the card game UniVersus. My name's Tam, and today I'm going to be showing you the Bison 2-dot deck that I played for this week's Campus Championship back to Standard. This deck was fun. It's got a lot of control aspects. Personally, I think I was doing a little bit too much when it came to milling and destroying and burn damage, but we will get into that as we get into the profile. Alright, so Bison 2-dot, one of the new characters out of the DLC. If you haven't seen one of my deck profiles before, basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be telling you more about how the deck wants to work, how the deck wants to operate, as opposed to just reading off the cards verbatim. So what does this Bison deck want to do? Well, I saw everything that he did, and I thought that I could take and see every little part of him, which is removing cards out of their discard pile from the game, trying to mill them out. And so if they have no more cards in their deck to draw, if they have no more attacks to attack me with, then I just, win the game. As well as a enhanced check of 6, your opponent loses 1 vitality. We got rid of, we're trying to play around this. And then I'm also stacking Bison 2-dot, which wants to destroy foundations. And so I'm working on the burn effect, the mill effect, and the destroy effect, all on both copies of Bison. A bit bold of me to trying to accomplish such a task, but I think the deck does an okay job representing that and being able to move its pieces the way that it is. Could the deck be better if I focused on one of the 3 areas as opposed to trying to jump around to all of them? Possibly. Something to test in the future. But for now, here is my version of Bison 2-dot. So obviously, I have a Bison 2-dot. I'm stacking 1-dot, who's got some cool effects. And the main synergy with Bison 1 and 2 is Bison 1 has an ability that wants to commit him to use its ability, and then Bison 1 has the ability of after you fail a check, you can ready your character back up. And so with Bison 2, it's just a catalyst to make Bison 1 constantly want to blow things up. And that's the main reason I wanted to stack them today. In order to make the stack happen, let me fix my framing just a little bit. In order to make my my stack happen, I am playing 4 Moon Ritual Dance. This card's twofold. Number 1, it's a fantastic gauge attack to then find both of these, and number 2, it's a 2-check. And Bison 2 wants to fail a bunch of cards, and so checking 2s whenever I'm randomly having to make checks means that I just don't have to feel bad trying to commit cards to possibly pass them. I know I failed, and that's that. Up next, we're playing 4 homing missiles. This card in here is honestly just a burn 3. 9 times out of 10, my opponent is not going to let me destroy their foundations, especially when I am Bison 1-dot. And so this card just says burn 3, possible burn 4 off of Bison. Otherwise, I'm just going to remove a card out of their the top card of the discard pile. And if they do let me destroy the card, and then I fail the check with Bison, I can just remove that card from the game. So not only is that card not going to be an issue right now, it will never be an issue for the rest of this game. Up next, we're playing 4 Ermax Teleport Punch. This is just a really cool reversal under the death symbol that makes a bunch of checks. So I have to check to play the card, I have to check to pass the card, and inside the check, I have to check a 6 to draw the card. And so there's 3 separate checks that I could possibly fail any one of them if I need Bison to trigger, or randomly it's just 4 damage on their turn, which I toss a card back up in their hand, I hit them with 4 damage, and I feel good about it because of the burn 1 and then the extra burns off of Bison, not to mention all my other cards. Up next, we're playing 4 Flame Aura. This card's in here just to be defensive. I need to make sure that I don't die, and I set up a wall so that as I'm choosing to fail these checks, or choosing to pass the checks that I'm playing, I have good enough defense to just not die. It'd be super, super easy just to accidentally take a moon set or a meteor to the face and then just get bopped off the Flame Aura. Up next, we've got 4 Fatality, the main mill engine of the deck, being able to just say, hey, if you have 4 of a singular card, I'm going to get rid of 4 copies. It's just Bison, but on steroids. And this combined with Bison is just really, really good, specifically for some crazy combos, which I can get into in just a little bit. And then the last stack we're playing is 4 Evil Bow. Possibly the best tool that Bison has. It is a 2-check. We're making a million checks inside of this deck, which we are for sure going to be getting to. And this card says that every time that I do check this, I can just trade a card out of my hand for a different resource in my discard pile. So I can turn a bad, okay card into a great card. Oh, I check this and I need a high block right now, well, I'll just add a Flame Ward to my hand. I'll remove some other card from the game and do this. And not to mention, I will Bison, either readying my character or removing a card. Onto our assets and actions. We're playing double Manji Sword and Fuma Blade. People value this card way more than I do, but I will say whenever I did have it, it felt really, really strong. It's just enhanced check of 5. If I have 3 or more weapons in my card pool, draw a card. I can still make the check on the 5, whether I have the card or not. So anytime that I check a 4 or less, I'm just going to remove one with Bison. Not to mention, response once per turn, my turn, your turn. Check a 7. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to fail that. And so it just is a free remove the top card out of the deck. Up next, we've got one Nirvana. This card is here specifically for defense. Sometimes you do want to pass your checks. And so in order to pass these high difficulty costs, I do have to commit my cards sometimes. And Nirvana gets to re-ready those, as well as, you know, I don't really have an answer to multiple. I don't have an answer to a big, huge, powerful. And so being able to stop those cards in their track with just a singular commit seems really, really strong. Up next, we're playing 4 Bang, possibly a little overkill, but this card is one of the main ways I get rid of characters. So I've got Bison to take care of foundations. I've got other cards to take care of foundations like homing missiles. I got ways to take care of assets. I don't actually have ways to take care of the character. And I need their character to not do anything so that they can go back to my turn and I can continue to remove the cards out of their deck. Not to mention, it's just a little bit more burn damage if they happen to not block my Flame Aura, or they choose not to block my homing missiles. I'm going to burn them and then draw an additional card. Easy peasy. Last action we're playing is we are playing for the Tagore Brothers. It's just Bison on a stick. Bison 1-dot on a stick. Bison 1-dot plus Tagore Brothers means that my opponent, honestly, is just not allowed to use their foundations. Either I'm just going to blow something up for free, or I'm going to respond and pay 2 Vitality to blow it up, fail a check, ready Bison back. If you play this correctly, this small package inside of Bison 2, these 5 cards, means that my opponent just isn't allowed to play abilities on their in their staging area. Or they are allowed to play their character, which sometimes they can't, you know. But if they do, they're just going to be punished so unbelievably hard. I'm just gonna mollywop them because they decided to play their cool gray cards. Up next, we've got 1 Blood for Blood, start of our foundations, and starting to get into some really aggro stuff. Blood for Blood is just, hey, I'm going to pay 2 Vitality to make sure if you block this, you're going to pay 2. Later in the game, this card is just a win condition for any of your deck, especially whenever you've got like a Flame Aura in your card pool. It now means that I'm paying 2 for you to burn 3 anytime you block my cards. Not to mention, it is, if stunned, a little bit of more board control. There's just some all-around good pieces. I think you should be playing this as a one-of in any Bison deck that can. I opted to play 4 Diplomatic because of how potent the good symbol is at removing cards from the card pool. I think all good, earth, fire, like all of those symbols are really good at trading resources in the card pool into something else by discarding them, or the air symbol does that, or we take and build them into our staging area or replace them, or so on and so forth. And Diplomatic just says check a 5 every time that they move a card out of their card pool and you burn them for 2 Vitality. Not to mention it checks a 4, which is surprisingly good in our deck that always wants to, like, 9 times out of 10 the checks that we make are 5s, and so I can just opt to fail that because I checked a Diplomatic. Inside this deck, you are looking to play more 4-ofs than normal because of the rate of which we wish to fail cards. Conversely, we are playing 4 Serving the Outworlds. The reason this card is here is it says enhance check a 6. This attack gets +2 or -2 damage. Checking a 6 is surprisingly difficult just to rip off the top. Just popping a 6 off the top is kind of hard. And so it basically just says every enhance for each one of these that I have, I remove a card with Bison. That's just it. Up next, I've got 4 OG Mecha Ninja. This card just lets me run through my deck. If I get to check 1 with Serve the Outworlds, I get to check 2 with OG Mecha Ninja. But this card says that I have to check 5s to pass my checks as opposed to checking 6s with serving. So the likelihood of me responding with Bison is less, but I get to make the check more often. Really, really good because I have Evil Bow in my deck. I can discard the top 8 cards in my deck every enhance and be like, oh, I found an Evil Bow. Let's go ahead and pick it up. Up next, we're playing Triple Voice of Reason. This card is just to make sure that I have significant pieces in my hand, as well as, surprisingly, it's once per turn my opponent, runs 1 card deeper in their deck because we both discard a card, draw a card. A little cheeky, good spam, doesn't necessarily have to be at more than a 3 of. We are playing 3, Prideful Personality. I would have cut this card altogether, honestly. Flip, discard 2, draw 2. I was just super afraid of like not having relevant blocks, but I never felt that I never felt like I didn't have the cards needed. It always felt like the cards that were in my hand were good. They just weren't good enough. Oh, your speed was just a little too high. Oh, my staging was a little too committed from a stun ability. This card could have pretty much been anything because I don't feel like my hand was the issue. It was just the board state. Up next, we've got the next big flow card, the kill card in our deck, honestly. And this is just anytime that my opponent plays an enhance, I can check a 5 and then make them discard the top card of the deck. The enhance is 9 times out of 10. I'm just not going to use it, especially because I'm playing Bison 1 and Tokoro Brothers. But this card just says that I'm going to be running you through your deck just ragged. Just every time that you play something, I'm going to discard 4 cards off the top of your deck. Any enhance you play, 4 cards. Not to mention, anytime that I fail one of these, it's not a discard, it's a remove with Bison. You have to see these cards in order to make the game plan happen. Up next, for defense, we're playing 4 Telekinetic Mastery. Response every time that you make an ability happen, I can either remove with Bison, or I can pass it and then -2 speed, -2 damage, depending on what I need at the time. Is your attack really fast but doesn't hit a lot? I'll give it -damage. If your attack's really big but really slow, I'll give it -speed, and then I'll block appropriately. Up next, we're playing double Guardian of the Spirit Sword. This is just a basic -3 speed. -2, -3 depending. Picking up the asset is not necessarily super important, but like our assets are both mid blocks, which is fine if you need it, but like it's just generic. Generic speed is generic speed. We're playing double Kieran Soul. If I block this thing, it deals no damage. Making sure that I can stay alive through throws. Vicious Madness is still a card in the game, and we have to make sure that we don't die from it. Up next, we've got double Nightmare Terrors, kind of in the same place as Flame Aura, but this is a unique foundation, so I could only afford to play 2. You could bump this up to a 3 of, but I don't recommend 4. And it just says, if your opponent has a low attack, like a Nutcracker or Missile Launcher, something that is unbelievably scary, you just pretty much block it for free, unless they have some sort of a block modifier modification. Up next, we're playing triple Keiko's Aid. I want their turn to be over when I demand it. I am in Bison. I am in charge of the game. And so if I block with something, I want that block to matter. And so just response after I block, their next attack gets harder. It means that I get to continue and develop my board state a little further because I'm asking them to end their turn. Another disruptive card, we've got 4 Ruthless Dictator. I think inside of this deck, this card actually has a ton of mileage. It's one of Bison 1.'s original cards, and it just says response after I block with a card, my block gets breaker 1. This card is a little stacked against me in this campus championship, which you can catch out on the channel, because I was fighting in the same tournament as Blanca and Sea Viper. And so these are just 4 dead cards because every single one of their cards are a charge. But being able to just like toss these in on the board, and then like Keiko's double Ruthless Dictator basically means that their turn's over. And this is just reusable breaker over and over and over again. Imagine giving breaker 1, breaker 2, breaker 3 to your Flame Auras. Just every turn. Every turn that I block something, breaker 3. When used strategically and used defensively, I think this card actually has a real place inside of the game. As long as you can get it built out and your opponent's not like overloading you with charges like a Sea Viper deck. Feels bad. And the last disruptive card that we're playing is double the Dark Side of Karma. If they have an enhance on a non-weapon, non-character, I'm just going to remove this card and cancel it. Really good for stopping attacks, because Bison and Tokoro Brothers stops foundations, and then Bang stops characters. Just trying to keep us alive the best that we can. And so there you have it. There was the Bison deck that I played for this week's Campus Championship. If you like the profile, make sure you check out all of the other profiles here from this week's Campus Championship, Return to Retro, as well as all the matches that we play. They'll be in their own playlist on the channel. If you want to interact with us as we record these live, please go to twitch.tv/TCGUniversity. Follow, subscribe out there, and catch us every Tuesday as we record them. We love to hang out with you. And then lastly, if you want to support the channel the best that you can, please go to Patreon, patreon.com/TCGUniversity. Sub out there at any level, get access to the podcast early, get access to a bunch of other awesome content. We greatly appreciate it. So from all of us here at TCGU, thank you very much for watching, and stay learned.